Somebody once told me, you have to go through hell to achieve resurrection. Hallelujah.
Dexter, it's like seeing a ghost. Chief Bishop told me that you were alive. She said that you were the Bay Harbor butcher.
So much for the happy reunion. What better place to hide?
It's the greatest city in the world.
Where nobody knows who you really are.
Tell me more about your friends.
Prater likes to own things. Time to meet the man of the manor.
Welcome. I cannot express how excited I am to meet you.
You really like serial killers.
I pride myself on finding the best of the best in every field.
Let's show and tell, baby.
So there are others.
On their way.
Only in New York.
Tonight's the night.
Invitation delivered.
This is the dark path you're going down. I heard you to be careful, son.
I'm tired of being careful.
What do you think?
I'm back in New York.
Hi, you're listening to Dissecting Dexter, the podcast that delves deep into the dark mind of everyone's favourite blood spatter analyst turned serial killer. Welcome everyone, I'm Gareth, your host, coming to you from the studio here in Yorkshire, England, as things are stirring in the shadows once again, and it's nothing to do with my new kitten who seems hell-bent on terrorising our three other cats. They don't get a minute, bless them, but hopefully I'll get through this without her walking across my keyboard and cutting off the recording or typing something inappropriate into the chat, especially as I'm not alone on the podcast today. But yes, things are definitely stirring in the Dexterverse. Hot on the heels of Original Sin, we're returning again to the world of Dexter Morgan in another show we never thought we'd see. The trailer for Dexter Resurrection has dropped in the last few days, and with it a cascade of teases and questions and clues. Is Dexter really back? Can we believe it? Is this just a Harrison fever dream? What is going on with Harrison? Where the heck is Chief Bishop? And just what does resurrection mean for a man who has already got his send-off twice? In this episode, we'll hopefully cover off the main talking points, maybe come up with a few more, speculate about what could happen, marvel at how sickeningly gracefully Michael C. Hall is aging, and explore what this next chapter might hold for the Morgan legacy. So grab your slides and scalpel and let's dissect this together. For anyone listening who is working their way through the rewatch podcasts covering the original series and maybe hasn't seen everything, still catching up on the good old days, you've probably already realised and thought, balls, I shouldn't be listening to this. Hopefully you've bailed, but if you haven't, please be warned. We are talking about the new series Dexter Resurrection, and I've probably spoiled you already in this intro, but I'd hate to ruin the show when you're not all caught up. Please come back when you've seen New Blood. For anyone else, thanks for joining us. If you like what you hear, please consider leaving a review and or a 5-star rating on your podcast app of choice. It helps more than you know. As a cat joins me at the table here. Hello. If you want to go a step further and want to support financially from as little as £1 a month, you are very welcome to head over to patreon.com/dissectingdexter and subscribe there. It really helps me out and keeps the podcast going. Subscribers get a shout out on the show and access to Patreon exclusive podcasts, which I call Dissecting Dexter Shortcuts. My eternal thanks, of course, go to everyone who helps me out there on Patreon. Thank you. Patreon subscribing to the Premier tier get an opportunity to join me on a podcast, and I'm really happy to welcome my Premier supporters today to chat about this trailer. So in no particular order, I'm delighted to welcome them from Florida. Here's Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for joining me.
Hello, Gareth. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Hope you're all ready to talk some Dexter.
Absolutely.
And in Oklahoma, we're joined by Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Gareth. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thanks. All geared up and ready to dive into some Dexter again. And last but not least, a fellow podcaster, host of Arnold Radio News. Here's Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
Hello, Gareth. Good to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, glad you're able to join us. Sorry, I didn't ask where you're from. Whereabouts are you hailing from?
Yes, I live in Michigan.
Excellent. Okay. So, yeah, welcome all of you. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for your ongoing support on Patreon. It really does mean a lot to me. I wonder if we should start by establishing kind of a baseline about how we feel about this as a show in itself. I mean, we all thought Dexter was dead and buried. Well, not literally buried, but certainly dead after New Blood. It was, we thought, at the end of his story, and now this. I mean, how did you all feel about the end of New Blood, and are you happy he's back from the dead? Does it undermine an ending you maybe really liked, or will you just devour whatever they give us? Kelly, can we start with you?
Sure. Well, I'm thrilled because I absolutely hated the ending of New Blood. I don't know if it's because I just love Dexter or because I thought it sucked. Not really sure. But I was so excited to find out that they were doing the resurrection thing, because I just think I just don't believe the way the story ended in New Blood. I didn't think that was a plausible ending.
Right. Okay. Did you have an ending in mind you might have preferred?
I always want Dexter to get away.
Yeah.
And continue on his his killing of the bad guys.
You're not alone. A lot of people do. Jennifer, how did you feel about it?
You know, I was really hyped up about New Blood, and I loved every episode up until the last one. I didn't hate it, but I really felt like the way I wanted Dexter to end was him being apprehended and made to pay for his crimes. Not for him, and not that he got away scot-free, obviously, since he was supposed to have died, but that he should have had to be, sentenced or, be in jail for the rest of his life, or even put to death. I mean, while he is an anti-hero and he's done some great things, he's also done some terrible things and killed people that shouldn't have been killed, especially Logan. I don't understand why, he's, not cuffed up when we see him in this, trailer that we have, whenever they really suspect him of doing that and all sorts of other things. So that's kind of where I stand with it right now.
Yeah, that killing of Logan was really a tipping point, wasn't it? It was, he was, I mean, I've talked about it on the podcast. We saw him at his most primal, didn't we? It was fight or flight. He was looking after number one and screw anyone who got in his way. And unfortunately, Logan was in his way. And of course, that was the tipping point for Harrison as well. Mm-hmm. Ryan, what did you think about the ending of New Blood?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on it, because I agree it's not the ending I would have wanted exactly. But I was okay with the direction they went with him getting, dying, or apparently dying. But I don't like the choices they made in how rushed it was in that last episode. Dexter getting super sloppy and kind of, going against kind of what we've expected from him. Whereas, he wouldn't kill an innocent person before, and we're seeing some of that in the original Sin series, that he makes good decisions sometimes, but and that aren't always selfish, and I just think even if he was gonna sacrifice himself or whatever, to have Harrison do it, just seems like you're going to mess him up even more. So yeah, there were definitely some issues ahead with it.
Yeah, I think it was challenging for a lot of viewers, and Clyde Phillips at the time was keen to point out that it was part of their intention to remind us that at his core Dexter is a villain, and the fact that he's been killing bad guys, quote unquote bad guys, all this time has been a sort of happy byproduct, in that there's a society benefit from what he does, but at the end of the day he's a killer, he needs to kill. And it's just thanks to the code that he's done it the way he has. But it's interesting to hear your varying opinions there of the ending. As you know from listening to the podcast, I was okay with it, but my big criticism was that they didn't get another episode or two to allow the end game to play out a bit more. And of course, I think are we all united in wishing that we'd had a Dexter Batista face off?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
I certainly did.
Definitely.
Yeah. They've made us wait for it, haven't they? But it's coming. They're meeting. Okay, so that kind of brings us up to where we are now. So CCXP happened last weekend in Mexico. I hadn't heard of it before, but this is a huge pop culture festival. And of course, Dexter Resurrection was represented. Michael C. Hall was there with David Zayas, Scott Reynolds, and Clyde Phillips. They premiered their trailer to an audience. I think I read it was about 3,000 people in the audience. And they had some conversation about what's in store for the show. There were a few tidbits of information that came out of that conversation that weren't in the trailer, and we'll get to some of that. All is perhaps not as it seems in the trailer.
You know, after Miami, I could never get used to this damn cold.
I thought you didn't know me.
You were right.
You're listening to Dissecting Dexter.
I'm Dexter Morgan. Your father.
So the trailer starts with Dexter in the hospital bed. We understand he's been in a coma since the shooting. We don't know how much time has passed. At least I don't think that's been revealed. Does anyone know? It's not been said, has it?
I don't think so.
I don't think it has.
No, maybe they'll tell us in the show if how long he's been out.
Yeah, I think I might have read it's like a few weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
So not super long.
And Batista's still there, because we assume those cars that Harrison passed on his way out of Iron Lake was the cavalry, perhaps with Batista among them. But what strikes me immediately, and I think, was it you, Jennifer, that alluded to this, is that Dexter doesn't look to be handcuffed to the hospital bed. Mm-hmm. And this also links for me with the question of where Angela Bishop is. She called in the shooting. We saw that. She knows Dexter killed Logan. He might be out of it, Dexter that is, with blood loss, but he's clearly a very dangerous man, potentially a mass murderer. How would he not be restrained in some way in case he wakes up? From a freeze frame in the trailer, I'm not certain, and I zoomed in as best I could, trying to discern what were cables from his drip. If there are maybe white zip ties on his wrists, but it's not clear. You'd think they'd use regular cuffs anyway, not plastic ties. And later when we see him hug Batista, he's walking around hands free. So right. I don't get that, but I'm sure there'll be a reason, and they'll explain. I don't know. Can any of you think of a reason why he wouldn't be restrained? Any ideas?
Did she call it in, Angela?
She
I can't remember.
Did. Oh no, you're making.
Did she just?
I was second guessing myself.
And, maybe she share her suspicion, but not really tell anybody else.
She told Harrison to go, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Right. She wasn't going to implicate him.
No. And I think she was going to call it in as an officer-involved shooting. I thought that's what she did.
Yeah, I wanted to rewatch the last episode because
Yeah.
I'm like up to episode 10 of New Blood in preparation for Resurrection. But I'm going to throw it out there, and I think she's dead.
Ooh.
Oh.
I think Harrison killed her.
Wow.
That's a thought I had. Actually, but I wondered whether maybe she was following the ambulance and perhaps had an accident on the way to the hospital, because the roads are snowy, aren't they? Icy. She could have had some mishap. The actress hasn't been mentioned in any of the publicity I've seen for the show. So who knows? There could have been some kind of scheduling issue for the actor. Julia Jones, I think that's her name, isn't it? So maybe they've not been able to include her. We know that Teddy's back from Iron Lake, but maybe he's the only actor they could have back. Or maybe she is around and they've just not included her in the publicity so far, not shown her in the trailer. But yeah, I wondered whether that was why, and then that limits how much she could contribute to the investigation. Although she did videotape her interviews with Dexter, didn't she? He was on camera, so the authorities would be able to look through all that. So yeah, I don't know. Is there some kind of technicality that they couldn't legally restrain him? I mean, I don't know whether that would be a thing, because he's still a suspect in at least the murder of Officer Logan. I mean, legally he isn't Dexter Morgan. That person is legally dead. David Zayas mentioned this in the panel at CCXP, that Batista has to go through certain processes to restore Dexter's legal status. He also says, he also made a comment that you can't hunt a dead man. So he clearly indicates that while he looks all warm and welcoming in the trailer, apparently Batista still has LaGuerta's files and has certainly not dismissed anything that Angela told him. He seems to be taking this seriously, but perhaps, I don't know, is he playing nice so as not to make Dexter feel threatened? What is clear from the trailer is that we do get a Dexter Batista reunion, something, as we've already talked about, we all wanted in New Blood, and I think just about every fan did. This may not be the confrontational one that we might have been hoping for in New Blood, but who knows, perhaps that's coming later. But it's good to know that they're writing Batista as a canny investigator, a canny detective, playing maybe a cautious game. Any of you got thoughts on this reunion that we're going to see? Ryan, are you looking forward to it?
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah, it definitely needed to happen. But yeah, I was very surprised though at the scene they show where he's just so casual with Dexter, oh, hey, and by the way, Angela mentioned you were the Bay Harbor Butcher, It's like, oh, no biggie. Want to go grab some lunch? No.
Yeah, that's the conversation stopper, isn't it?
Right. Dexter's like, okay, I'm out. But yeah, I hope that Batista plays, a pretty major role in this season, not just, a little bit here and there. Like, it would be nice to see a lot of him.
Yeah, he certainly seems to follow Dexter to New York. We see later he interacts with Harrison. Jennifer, how do you feel about seeing Dexter and Batista together in these circumstances?
I do like that. I think what I hope is that it's not just fan service, because we wanted that meeting at the end of New Blood and we didn't get it. And I hope that he is really in the show throughout the entire run of it.
Yeah, I think I get the feeling that's going to be the case. I wonder whether we'll get some sort of climactic scene where Dexter again is in fight or flight and he has to choose whether to go through Batista or try and find some way around him. Do you know what I mean? And have that dilemma, because that would be, taking out Logan, that's not someone he's essentially grown up with. And we see in Original Sin, didn't we, how their friendship began. I use friendship loosely, Because we know what Dexter's opinion was, but Batista certainly looked on him as a bro, didn't he? Kelly, what are your thoughts about this?
I'm gonna love it. I can't wait to see it, and I think that I don't think Angel knows everything that Angela kind of found out. That's why when he says to him, Chief Bishop said you were the Bay Harbor Butcher, I think she probably had a short email or conversation with Angel and then said, "Oh, I'll tell you everything when you get here." And then she's no longer around, so he couldn't find out everything that she knew.
Yeah. Okay, so the trailer goes on and we see Dexter making a very hasty escape and heading to New York. I guess New York is probably the biggest place to get lost in, that's closest to Iron Lake. Excuse me, I don't imagine he knows Harrison's there, but the trailer suggests that he quickly gets involved with this group headed by Peter Dinklage as a billionaire, Leon Prater, aided by his head of security, Charlie, played by Uma Thurman. It might be expected that someone with all those resources would have a lot of connections, and maybe he knew about the Bay Harbor Butcher's suspects being in hospital. I wonder if he somehow helps Dexter escape. Maybe Charlie heads up there. Maybe she finds some way to dispose of certain files and tapes. That may be another reason why they've not got enough evidence to restrain Dexter. I don't know. In the teaser trailer that we got the day before the main trailer, was it Friday? They dropped like a 30-second thing. We see a doctor or someone who looks like a doctor placing Dexter's hand on his belly and pats the back of his hand almost with affection. Could that be someone from Prater's group? One of these serial killers? Did anyone else notice that?
No, I hadn't really. I only saw that like one time, and I didn't connect like who could that have been. So no, I'm not sure about that, but it's certainly possible.
Yeah, watch it back, because we sort of it starts that moment with him in the process of moving the hand onto his belly, and just sort of pats the back of his hand gently, which is an odd gesture for a genuine doctor. It was almost like some degree of affection, or perhaps done by someone who's not got all their not the full picnic. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe one of Prater's serial killers.
I am.
So maybe they help him escape.
Yeah, I am just curious what the billionaire's deal is. Like, why is he seems to have this? He's recruiting serial killers for some purpose, and is it like his team of assassins, or that he sends out, or is he just getting a thrill out of hearing what these serial killers are going, their victims and whatnot, kind of secondhand? I don't know.
Yeah. So if Prater or one of his collection, shall we say, have helped Dexter escape, maybe that's why Dexter then heads for New York, because that's where Prater and his crew are. Maybe Prater gets a message to him in hospital inviting him there. But this is a weird group. We've got Kristen Ritter as Lady Vengeance. Some people are suggesting she might end up as Dexter's love interest. Obviously there's a bit of an age gap, but hey. Eric Stonestreet stars as Rapunzel. Neil Patrick Harris is someone known as the Tattoo Collector, and David Dastmalchian as Gareth, the Gemini Killer. Maybe he has a thing for twins. I don't know. All very intriguing, but it comes across to me a bit like Serial Killers Assemble, which I'm
Yes.
fascinated to find out more about. Kelly, what do you think about this group?
I have absolutely no idea where they're going with this. I've been trying to figure it out, and I have nothing. I think it's going to be really interesting to see it play out, but I can't even come up with a theory of what this Prater guy is up to.
Mm. It seems quite an out there thing to surround yourself with such people who kill for fun.
Right.
It's
Right,
all
and
very
how would he
open
even
to
find them?
speculation. Yeah, indeed. Jennifer, what do you think about them?
I think it's an interesting group of people to get together. It's certainly a like star-studded cast. But my question, kind of like Kelly, is how did they find out about Dexter or any of these other people? I mean, how does he know that these people have a dark passenger or, whatever is going on with them? That's what I would like to know.
We know Prater is a billionaire, so it would stand to reason he'd have access to all sorts of resources. Maybe he's got feelers going out there into the internet, sort of scanning what the police computers are searching for. Maybe it's flagged something up. Maybe he's always had a fascination for the Bay Harbor Butcher. I mean, he would have been probably the most prolific serial killer ever. So it would make sense that he'd have his ear to the ground for any word about it. But yeah, it's as obviously I think we all agree we don't really know yet what this group is and what Prater's agenda is, what he wants to do with these people.
It almost plays like a movie where there's a heist and they're assembling a team, and each one has their own specialty or whatever, and so we're gonna have some kind of mission that they've got to do. But it just seems weird with serial killers, so I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. The way the trailer introduced or gave us a flash of each of the people, it was almost like we were seeing, like as you say, like the heist crew in Ocean's 11 or something like that. I did feel that Neil Patrick Harris was presented as the cocky one, the gobby one. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dexter takes him out this season, if indeed he ends up taking any of them out.
I might still be a monster, but I'm an evolving monster.
You're listening to Dissecting Dexter.
So we see newspaper headlines. There's a serial killer targeting taxi drivers. It seems that this killer is posing as a passenger and earning himself the nickname the Dark Passenger Killer. Obviously very on the nose, but I think it's in a fun way. One thought that went through my head, is this Harrison? I think probably not, but who do we think this could be? Does Prater send Dexter after this guy as a test, maybe? Do any of you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it could. I mean, it could be, a couple different possibilities. This could be like the hint at the main big bad of the season, that we're going to be tracking down throughout the season or figure out. Or it could just be the first guy that kind of grabs Dexter's attention, especially with the name. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who it is exactly.
Yeah. So I mentioned Harrison just then. Let's talk about him a little bit. Obviously, he's in New York as well, working apparently as a hotel bellhop. In the teaser, before the trailer, it looked like he was striking out at someone. The shot was a bit out of focus. It wasn't clear. But in the full trailer, we see him in an apron dragging a body. We might assume he's become a killer, maybe. Or is he perhaps cleaning up for someone else? He's seen from his dad how to dispose of a body. Maybe the tools we see are for that. It was a big question throughout New Blood, wasn't it? We saw signs of Harrison having his own darkness. God knows he had a similar childhood trauma as Dexter, albeit at a much younger age. Dexter even tried to begin training him, you might say grooming him, but Harrison ultimately rejected him after Logan's death. There were hints that perhaps he wouldn't go the same way. It was left open, wasn't it? It was left ambiguous. However, if he did, he wouldn't have the guidance of a father figure like Dexter did. In the trailer, we see Batista warning Harrison about going down a dark path. It's deliberately ambiguous in the trailer, but what do you think about this? Is Harrison a killer now? Jennifer, what do you think?
Well, the way that New Blood ended, I really would have thought that Harrison would have taken the opposite of this and done everything he could to not become a killer. But the way that the trailer has set it up, it seems to me that he actually has become a killer. He's dragging a body around. If nothing else, he's certainly cleaning up for somebody, and he's still involved in that darkness of death. So something is going on with him for sure.
Yeah, it's not the trailer obviously leaves it ambiguous, doesn't it, and open for us to interpret. Harrison has witnessed what he's witnessed in New Blood when Dexter killed Kurt. He saw, and it looked like he went a little bit green when Dexter was disposing of the body. So yeah, like you say, it could have gone the other way, where Harrison was repelled by what he saw and how his dad turned out, and that could have pushed him the other way to be determined not to be like that. So yeah, maybe that suggests that he is helping someone else out to clean up a body, and he's just comfortable around death because of what he's already been through. Did you have some thoughts there, Ryan?
Yeah, just that it seems like he's working in a hotel, maybe, because he's got kind of like a bellboy outfit on in one of the shots. Yeah. And maybe, that it looks like he's dragging that body through a kitchen of some sort. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. That I will say a hotel kind of gives a lot of options for kill rooms. So if he is if he is going that full dark passenger way, then it could be some good spots, some unused rooms, that he can get into.
Yeah, he'll be spoilt for choice. Kelly, what do you think about where we might find Harrison?
Yeah, I think he's a killer, and I'm getting that from the one episode in New Blood where after Dexter saves him from Kurt, when he was going to shoot him, and then Dexter came in after he got shot, and on the way back to town, Dexter was telling him, "I know you have these dark urges, blah blah blah," and pretty much everything's going to be okay, and then Harrison hugs him in the car because it's like he's so relieved that his father brought that up, I think, because he's feeling all these, all this darkness. So yeah, I think he's a killer.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah. Obviously we'll see. But yeah, we saw Harrison hurt Ethan at school, didn't we? So he did lash out at somebody, didn't he? In a violent way. So there were certainly strong hints of shall we say, dark urges. I wondered if Harrison is an active killer, whether Dexter, because I'm thinking, how does Dexter find him? He won't have known where Harrison would have headed to at the end of New Blood. Whether Prater's found out or does find out, or does Prater send Dexter after Harrison, not knowing he's his son, and Dexter not knowing either until they're face to face? Maybe that's a possibility. Okay.
And maybe Harrison is the one. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, sorry. That's okay.
No, I was going to say maybe Harrison's the one in the hotel room in the trailer before the teaser trailer that rubs Dexter's hand.
Oh, like he helps Dexter escape.
Maybe he had regrets for shooting his father, and who knows?
Yeah. Well, yeah, lots of possibilities. Let's move on then. At CCXP, Michael C. Hall apparently talked about the notion of resurrection and how it can mean multiple things. Batista we'd learn, will resurrect Dexter in a fashion, legally, while Dexter himself comes back from the brink of death. But Hall talked about Dexter returning to the code where he had previously drifted away from it. So a resurrection of sorts for Dexter the serial killer. We know he kills again. We see enough in the trailer to infer that. We see him prepping the kill room. We see him bringing down the knife on someone. We see him looking down on a victim who looks to be a man with a stubbly chin. I mean, it could be anybody, but to me, it looked a bit like Neil Patrick Harris, perhaps. I mean, it could look like me today. But yeah, I wonder whether that's whether he's going to take out Neil Patrick Harris's character. Lowell, I think his character's called. But are we all looking forward to Dexter getting back to his killing ways? I assume we all are. Jennifer?
Yes, I am. I mean, New Blood, the very first kill that he did, and he set everything up almost exactly like what he had been doing in the past. I mean, I was like stoked. You know, he made the blood slide, you know, had to, tape down all those things, and I was like, yes, this is a good Dexter right here. And I'm excited. I hope that's what happens.
Yeah. Ellie, what do you think?
Yeah, he needs to get back to the code because that is what kept him out of trouble for the most part, in the original series. Anytime he strayed from it is when things got all crazy. So, yeah, I want to see him get back to the code. I want to see him end up back somewhere sunny and get that whole Dexter vibe, which I loved.
The sunny Miami vibe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you mentioned the code. I've got a quote here from Michael C. Hall from CCXP. He talks about Dexter returning to following the code, and we see Harry's back in the trailer. And Hall says this is because Dexter's returned to adhering to the code. He says, and I quote, "Part of the reason James Remar is back, Harry is back in his head, is because Dexter's back in Harry's good graces. He's recommitted to the code. He's come to appreciate how it keeps him safe, how it makes him singular, and how it allows him to do what he does without being in immediate danger." I mean, obviously he started to play a little bit fast and loose at times, and mistakes were made. I'm quite glad Harry's back. I like looking at the subtext of their conversations, although I did enjoy Jennifer Carpenter being around in New Blood. But yeah, if he's getting back to the code, I think that's a good thing. I think it was proven to keep him out of trouble. Unfortunately, in the long run, it didn't prevent collateral damage along the way, did it? But as for Harry, are you all happy about seeing Harry back, Kelly?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I loved all those interactions with Harry, and I missed him in New Blood, even though Jennifer Carpenter as Deb was awesome as his Harry. But it'll be good to get the old feeling, the old vibe back.
Yeah, it'll bring echoes of the original series, won't it, having Harry around, even though we're not in Miami. But yeah, it's bringing in some of those OG flavors, isn't it? Ryan, are you a fan of Harry?
Yeah, I like Harry. I like their interactions, and it of course represents Dexter's just internal kind of conflict that he has with himself in some of these situations. So, and it is interesting that he says he's getting back to the code, but then the line when he's talking to Harry in the trailer, he says you've got to be more careful, and he says I'm tired of being careful. So he's already kind of like trying to push back and do what he wants to do instead or something. So I'll be curious where that dynamic goes, if it develops in any way, because I remember that like one of the lines from New Blood was that, oh yeah, I'm a killer, but I'm an evolving killer or something like that.
Yes.
So,
I'm a monster, but I'm an evolving monster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. but essentially the same thing. Yeah, which I think is true, because we've seen the evolution of his character, haven't we? And how he sometimes goes 2 steps forward and 3 steps back at times.
Right.
But yeah, I picked up on that line as well, Ryan, about how he says, "I'm tired of being careful," which kind of seems to contradict what Michael said at CCXP about getting back to the code. But if both are true, then you wonder what happens during the course of the season to make Dexter then say that. Is it because of something to do with Harrison? I don't know. We will see.
Hey, I'm Mark Pellegrino. I play Paul Bennett on Dexter, and you are listening to Dissecting Dexter with Gareth Watkins.
Elsewhere in the trailer, we get a glimpse of a new character called Blessing Kamara. We see him briefly singing the praises of New York City to Dexter. It looks like he's a taxi driver. And according to reports, he's going to be in several episodes, so maybe quite a prominent, if supporting character. But I wonder if he's going to be some sort of positive influence on Dexter. His attitude in the brief moment we see him looks upbeat, so he might be quite a fun character to have around. The actor is not someone I'm familiar with. I apologise, I'm going to butcher his name. Ntari Guma Mbwaho Mwini, who I'm not familiar with him. He's done quite a bit of acting before, though, looking at his IMDb page, including shows like Treme and The Lincoln Lawyer. Do any of you know him? Have you seen him in anything?
No.
No, I'm not.
No. Scott Reynolds posted a picture of him on set. Looking at his Instagram page, sounds like quite a good guy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to this character and what the character brings to the story.
Right. Maybe a potential target of the Dark Passenger, since he's a taxi driver.
Yes, that would make sense. Or perhaps someone that Dexter inadvertently saves.
Yeah.
And they become friends. And again, I use the word friends in inverted commas from Dexter's point of view, but you know what I mean. What do we think about the overall tone of the trailer? I mean, a lot was said about Original Sin and how that brought back a lot of the vibes and the feels of the early seasons of the original series. With New Blood, obviously they went for a very different setting, a very different sort of color palette, and whole different vibe. But what sort of feeling do you get from the trailer in a more sort of general feel of what the show might be like? Jennifer, what did you get from it?
Well, I do still think that it's stepped away from that Miami sunny vibe, because it's in New York, and most of the scenes they showed us were at night, and it looks like it's still cold. So I still think it's a stark difference from that Miami that we know and love. But also New York has a lot to offer as far as, so many people, there's places to hide, there's things that can be done. Plus we have this billionaire. I mean, I think it's going to be crazy, and it's going to add a lot to the Dexter universe that I think we would like it.
Yeah. Kelly, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Jennifer. It's definitely not, our nice, light, bright Miami. But it seems a little more vibrant than Iron Lake, not as gray. That whole New Blood just seemed very two-toned to me. So yeah, I think it's going to be better, and it seems more cinematic, the way they're filming it, and like Jennifer said, it looks like most of the scenes we've seen so far are at night. So I think it's going to have that like just kind of moody New York thing going on.
Yeah. Ryan, what were your feelings coming out of the trailer?
Yeah, it was definitely a very stark change in tone from Geez, why am I blanking on the last series now? Um,
What, New Blood?
From New Blood, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, different tone in New Blood. New Blood, it's like they tilted the scales to the dark side and kind of these bleak kind of tone for the most part there. And this time they kind of tilted it the other way to kind of more of the lighter, more humorous kind of feel to it. So that's interesting. But I think the original Dexter series was best when it had struck that perfect balance of dark, really dark themes, but also that humor. And it's hard to thread that needle just right, but when it does, it's like, oh, so good. So I hope that they're not going too much in the kind of comedic aspects, but that part was in full display for this trailer, and maybe they just wanted to emphasize that more, with the marketing, to kind of say, okay, this is a new kind of thing now, and we're going to go in this direction. But I like the setting change to a big city in New York. It's a different vibe than Miami, much different vibe than the small town in the last one. So I'm on board.
Yeah, it feels fresh, doesn't it? While perhaps still bringing a little lightness, and I think the lightness was something that was missing perhaps from New Blood, as you mentioned words like bleak, two-tone. I think that's all very fair. But again, New Blood was a completely fresh look from the original series, and I like that they're going in a different direction again. And thematically, this whole concept of this collection of serial killers, it's very new to Dexter and could take us in some exciting directions. Maybe I wonder if some of this group will survive this season to become big bads in future seasons, and there are opportunities here to establish some interesting longer term story arcs. We've got some. I've had some a couple of emails from listeners with thoughts about the trailer. I'm going to read. I'll read those now, if you'll indulge me. John from Liverpool emailed to say, I'm pretty torn about the casting for the upcoming season. The usual Dexter formula is the original cast and a fairly big-named guest star per season. The likes of John Lithgow, Jimmy Smits, Julia Stiles, and Clancy Brown. The star power the producers have brought in this season is so superior to anything we've seen before. On one hand, I'm excited to see such a group of amazing actors in my favourite show, but on the other, will it take away from the formula of Dexter as we know it? The show has always been 90% Dexter and 10% made up by the rest of the cast. I can't see how they follow that with such a lineup of stars. Now on to my biggest concern, the Dexter Batista scene. I know we can't read too much into a trailer, but how they shot that scene terrifies me. We finally get a Batista and Dexter standoff, with Batista calling him out as the Bay Harbor Butcher, and Dexter just walks into the bathroom and jumps out of the window. Their interactions are what will make or break the show for me, and I didn't get the best of vibes from the snippet we got. Thanks, John. My immediate reaction is you're right. We can't read too much into a trailer because it's so heavily edited, often deliberately edited in an ambiguous way. We can't take absolutely everything at face value, can we? The scene between Dexter and Batista is, of course, much anticipated, and we've talked about that as a group here today, and it will perhaps set the bar for the season. Maybe we'll get a cat and mouse thing, but Dexter escaping the hospital will surely only confirm Batista's suspicions, won't it? And really set things in motion. Another email from Fabio Silvestre, a first-time emailer. He has a theory that Batista will allow Dexter to escape the hospital. I'm not sure what would motivate him to do this, although I did see a theory elsewhere that maybe Batista knew about Dexter all along and may use him to get the bigger fish and stop this group in New York. But Fabio goes on to say, we are teased with one of the best cast lists I've seen. Seeing Dexter being introduced to Peter Dinklage's character as some kind of cult leader, let's say. It's giving me a John Wick vibe, like the Continental Hotel for professional assassins, but this being a hotel for serial killers. Harrison returning on screen in an apron and marigold gloves with a lovely selection of knives, like father, like son. It does look like Harrison and Batista have a sit down together to talk some things over, but it could be the way the trailer portrays it. I'm excited to see Michael C. Hall return to our screens for many more years. I'm also excited to see Eric Stone Street and Neil Patrick Harris come alive as serial killers after seeing them in their funny roles that we have all seen. Fabio also says he might send in a voicemail sometime. Thanks, Fabio. I hope you do. I like to get different voices on here. Thanks for writing in. That's a fun comparison to make with the Continental in John Wick. I like that. All these killers hanging out with a kind of mutual or grudging respect and understanding, or maybe not all respectful, but socializing together. We could have a lot of fun scenes here. Kelly, do you have any thoughts in response to either of those emails?
Yeah, with the idea that Batista lets Dexter go, maybe they have like a heart-to-heart and Dexter, tells him his whole story, and Angel decides, well, I know that's terrible that you're doing this, but you're killing bad people, and maybe he does use him to go after, or enlist his services to go after all these other really bad people. But who knows? It's kind of an out there theory, but because I think Batista, he kind of maybe did know there was something up, but I don't know.
I remember that scene from the season 8 finale. Sorry to reopen that old wound for people who hated it, but there was a scene where Quinn and Batista are reviewing the CCTV footage when Dexter sticks the pen in
Oliver.
What was his name?
Oliver
Jackson. Thank you. I was just a brain fart there. And they sort of look at each other, don't they? At the gratuitous violence on display. Quite shocking when they've never seen Dexter do anything like that before. The mild-mannered donut guy. Although obviously Quinn had some suspicions at one point. But yeah, you wonder whether, it's possible Batista might have always had some doubts and just never voiced them. He and LaGuerta maybe had conversations. I don't know. But that is an interesting theory that maybe Dexter just lays it all out on the table. And Batista kind of, I don't want to say gives him a pass, but there's something bigger going on. And just gives him a chance.
Yeah, I don't think he would give him a pass on LaGuerta, especially though.
No, no, and Officer Logan as well. That was killing an officer in cold blood. And Batista is a police captain. He's an honourable man. I think my gut is telling me that he wouldn't, he couldn't let him go, regardless of their history. Jennifer, do you have any thoughts on anything coming out of those emails? Did anything jump out to you?
Oh, I'm just like you guys. I don't know why Batista would just let him go. He clearly, even though there's not just a ton of concrete evidence, there's so much circumstantial things. Angela telling him things, and I'm sure he had some sort of gut feeling that something was going on with Dexter. So I can't see him just saying, hey, bygones be bygones, and I'll let you go because we're buddies. I just don't see that happening. There has to be something else that happens for him to get out of the hospital without, being in jail. So
yeah, I think maybe Dexter realizes that once again the jig is up, and his best course of action is to get out of Dodge and hide in one of the liveliest most populous cities in the world. Ryan, any other comments about the emails?
Yeah, I really want Batista to be like the Dokes of this season, to be really onto Dexter, kind of a cat and mouse thing like you were saying earlier. Because Dexter is best when he is being pursued and always on the cusp of being discovered, found out, and has to think fast and get out of situations. So I hope it has a lot of that. But I am very excited about the cast. All those really good names, and I think they're probably on board, for whatever, even if their role is kind of smaller or whatever. I think probably most of those are okay with whatever role they have in the series, and whatever they can add to that to make it fun. But it does look like it's just going to be pretty fun ride of a season. So
I think it certainly is. The cast is certainly stacked. It's an embarrassment of riches.
And Michael C. Hall looks like he's enjoying being back too. Like he wasn't forced into this. Like he looks like he's ready for it.
This is his doing. Of course, the story goes that he rang Clyde Phillips and said, "Is there any way you can bring me back from the dead?" And Clyde went away and had a conversation with Scott Reynolds, and I think within a couple of days they went back to Michael with a plan. And here we are, 5 weeks away from actually seeing it. Okay, well thanks Fabio and John for emailing in. Guys, do any of you have any questions or topics you want to bring up before we close things out? Kelly, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard this, but with Officer Logan, I thought I had read, I don't know if it was one of the writers said that he didn't kill him on purpose. It was like an accident. Did any of you read that? When he was trying to get the key, Officer Logan kind of moved weird and ended up breaking his neck.
Yeah, I think the moment could be read that way. I mean, Dexter did have his arm around his neck pretty tightly, didn't he? So maybe that's what. I don't know. Is there any way of? You can't sugarcoat that, can you? Because he still had his arm around his neck and he was trying to escape.
Right.
I mean, he could argue he didn't mean to kill him. But I don't know. Is there much? It's difference between murder and manslaughter, I suppose.
Right. I'll have to rewatch the scene.
It's like a technicality.
It certainly. It looked like he intended to do it. I mean, in my memory of the scene, but
that's how I felt at the time. Whether Dexter tries to wriggle out of it in his conversation with Batista, I guess we'll see. Jennifer, did you have any other points you wanted to bring up?
No, I'm just excited to see what this season brings us. I'm all in for anything Dexter, so even if it's not great, I'm still gonna watch it. 100%.
Yeah, that's how I feel. We're invested all these years. I think we're all in it for the long haul, aren't we?
Yeah.
Ryan, were there any other questions or comments you wanted to bring up about the trailer or the show?
Just that I look forward to more surprises. Like I'm sure the trailer, like you said, was edited in ways to just not reveal everything, which is good because I don't want to know too much going in. So I look forward to the twists and turns and maybe surprise cameos we don't know about yet. That could be possible in there. I know on On a personal thing, I happen to know that at the same time that Dexter was filming, Arnold Schwarzenegger was filming his new movie, which was a Christmas movie in New York at the same time. So I'm like, maybe Arnold could be a cameo on Dexter too. Like,
Well, stranger things have happened. I mean, I guess we're all aware of certain leaked cameos, or certain cameos that have been leaked, and I've been deliberate not to mention those, because some people listening may not know and may not want to know. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that there's going to be some surprises along the way, and we're in for a fun ride. Okay, so I mean, I've exhausted my notes here, and if you guys haven't got any further questions or things to bring up, then we'll close this out, and I'll say thank you guys all ever so much for giving up some of your time and joining me to break down this trailer. And
thank you, Gareth, for inviting us.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Gareth.
very welcome.
And thanks for
no problem
the
at all.
podcast. I love
Yes.
it. I listen to it every morning.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I enjoy it
and-
very
and-
much, and it's definitely part of the Dexter watching experience.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. That was certainly my intention when I started this, was that it be a companion to people enjoying watching the TV show. And of course, as I've already said, my thanks go to you guys for supporting me on Patreon. It really does help massively with helping out with the ongoing costs of making and hosting the podcast. Ryan, obviously, I've already alluded to, and we've mentioned your Arnold podcast. Do you want to just tell everyone where they can find it if they are fellow Schwarzenegger aficionados?
Absolutely, of course. You can find it on Arnold Radio News. Just search on Apple Podcasts or whatever you listen on. And then also the ArnoldFans.com is our website that is one of the internet's oldest Arnold fan sites. It's been around since the 90s, so we're pretty proud of that.
Wow, that sounds like a labor of love, going with it for that long.
It's fantastic.
Oh, and yeah, excellent. Well, thank you. I was just trying to on the fly there think of an "I'll be back" joke, but I completely failed. But it's the thought that counts. Well, you'll be back. All right. Sure. Well, thanks again for joining me, everyone. This has been fun, and as I say, thanks especially for your Patreon support. So, there we have it, our first taste of Dexter Resurrection, and it's already got the blood pumping and the theories flying around. What did you spot in the trailer? Anything important that we missed? Obviously, we're still doing a lot of speculation based on what we've seen, but it's always fun to do it. Is Harrison a killer now? Is this a fever dream and Dexter is actually dead as a dodo? I'm guessing not, but this series looks set to head into new territory, not just geographically, but dramatically. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Email dissectingdexter@gmail.com, or you can find me on Twitter @dissectdexter, or Blue Sky as Dissecting Dexter, or there's the good old Facebook page, facebook.com/dissectingdexter. If you have enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast. It really helps keep the Dark Passenger satisfied. I'm hoping to make a start soon on the original series, season 4, before Resurrection premieres on July the 11th. But I don't know, I've got a family holiday before then, so I can't promise, unfortunately, but you never know. I will try. But here we go. I'll be back in July for that 2-episode premiere. I knew there'd be a chance. There we go.
Good.
I knew you'd like that. Be sure to send in your thoughts. I'm sure there'll be lots to dissect to Dex. messing up my words. There'll be lots to dissect to get together. There we go. That's it. So until next time, stay sharp, and I'll try and get my voice back for the next podcast. Remember, the code is only as strong as the one who lives by it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care. Bye for now.